Should, but I got mail from work.
These turn on automatically if I recall.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Good morning.
Yep.
There's that one and this one. Perfect timing. And there's your recording.
Yay, Joe.
Everybody want to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Mike.
Check this.
Do I have a folder?
It's really, really low.
I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I did.
You are
I did.
on top of my business.
All right, let's do roll call.
Can you tap the light?
No, I could hear it in mine.
Should be barely.
It's how it is.
Really?
And
It's always been that low.
Usually it's so loud, it's almost
I've listened to a lot of them. It's always real low for me.
all right. Benedetti.
Here.
I'm getting ready to call everybody by their first names. Councilwoman Sherm.
Here.
Councilman Wolf.
Here?
Councilman Bruger.
Here.
Councilman Curl.
Here.
Councilman McNamara.
Here.
All right. Not calling a council person.
Okay.
Not today.
You're denying his personhood?
Not today, folks. All right, green cards, Diane.
Yes, for our visitors, there are I.
Hi,
New tonight?
yes.
All right.
You from the news section or?
No, I'm Kelly, I'm David.
Ah.
Oh, David's wife. Well, nice to meet you.
Yeah, I harassed her into at least seeing what this was about.
There you go.
Oh, I'm not sure if this will be the most exciting meeting, but anyway, we do have green cards in the back, so if you want to comment on part of the agenda items, the legislation, then fill out a green card and bring it up front. Otherwise, citizen comments at the end.
All right, we're gonna go straight into legislation.
All right. All third readings tonight. So
Oh, man, that's a lot of reading.
that's a lot of third readings. Okay, resolution 2020-04 is our pool fees. They are essentially the same as last year, except for it adds a residents-only day of pass after 5 for $5. I motion that we approve this.
Move for passage.
I move for passage, thank you.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
No.
Aye.
No.
You need a
Roll
Oh, we have to
call.
roll call on these?
Yeah, you guys are-
Oh. Okay, roll call it.
That's,
That's me.
yeah, that's you.
That's me.
you too.
All right, Councilman Curl.
Aye.
Council President Tripp.
Aye.
Councilman Benedetti.
Aye.
Councilman Bruger.
Aye.
Councilman Wolf.
Aye.
And Councilman McNamara.
Aye.
All right, ayes have it and it passes. Resolution 2020-05, also third reading. This is the approving the execution of a contract with Unicode to provide website design and hosting services. Yeah, I motion that we approve.
Move for
Move
passage.
passage.
Moves for passage. I should write that
Second.
down somewhere so I can remember it, but I'll probably get it by the end of this.
You and me both.
So you
All
seconded
right,
it?
roll call vote,
Who
please.
seconded it?
Yeah, I seconded.
Well, this
You-
council
you
person
can't
will
open
second
for
it.
discussion. It should be open for discussion.
You're right, should be. Any discussion?
Tony, who
I
asked
just
for
wanted to make
discussion,
sure
has
we
no
were going.
discussion.
I didn't have anything to say, I just wanted to make sure the option was open.
No, I like protocol. If I'm
Yeah.
messing up protocol, let me know.
All right.
All right, no discussion?
No.
Councilman McNamara.
Aye.
Councilman Bruger.
Aye.
Councilman Curl.
Aye.
Councilman Benedetti.
Aye.
Council President Shrimp.
Aye.
and Councilman Wolf.
Aye.
All right, it is also passed then.
Question,
Too late now.
this
I'm just
one
kidding.
that just passed,
Yes,
when do we get started implementing?
30 days.
Okay,
Now let's sign the contract for 30 days.
alrighty.
Okay, resolution 2020-06, affirming the appointment of Ian Willis as a full-time police officer for the Village of Minerva Park. I move for passage.
Second.
Second, any discussion on this?
All right, roll call.
Please.
Councilman Wolf,
Aye.
Council President Trim,
Aye.
Councilman McNamara, Aye. Councilman Benedetti,
Aye.
Councilman Berger,
Aye.
and Councilman Curl.
Aye.
Okay, do I have to do these in order listed?
I'm just writing the way you do it, so no, do whatever you want.
I am gonna, if it's okay with everyone, and regardless of what it is, I'm gonna move 2020-07 to the end,
Go for it.
because I think that's the one that there is gonna be discussion on. And the other ones, I think we can get through without a lot of discussion.
Yeah.
So, we will skip to 2020-08, the sanitary sewer project. This is the one to move the funds from the old account to the new account. I move for passage.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, and a roll call vote?
Councilman Berger,
Aye.
Councilman Benedetti,
Aye.
Council President Trim,
Aye.
Councilman Wolf,
Aye.
Councilman Curl,
Aye.
and Councilman McNamara. Aye.
All right, and that passes. All right, ordinance 2/2020, an ordinance authorizing a capital projects fund for the accumulation of resources for the Ohio Public Works Commission sanitary sewer project. This is the one that creates the account for the money we just said we're gonna move into this account, so that we can start using it this year. I move for passage.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, let's vote.
Council President Trim,
Aye.
Councilman Berger,
Aye.
Councilman Wolf,
Aye.
Councilman Curl,
Aye.
Councilman McNamara, Aye. and Councilman Benedetti.
Aye.
All right, and that's passed. All right, ordinance 3, an ordinance to make supplemental appropriations from the current expenses of the village of Minerva Park for the year 2020. This actually takes the money from our old account and puts it into the account that we just created, that we just said we can do. Wow, there's a lot of paperwork to move some money around. Okay, I'm gonna move for passage.
Second.
Any discussion?
Feels like we did this backwards, kind of.
Eh.
It's all right.
No.
As long as it all gets
It's
done.
on the list.
All today. All right, Councilman
All right.
Benedetti,
Aye.
Councilman Wolf,
Aye.
Councilman McNamara,
Aye.
Councilman Curl,
Aye.
Council President Trim,
Aye.
and Councilman Berger.
Aye. Okay, now for the one. Resolution 2020-07. Resolution authorizing and approving the execution of a contract with MKSK Studios, Inc. This is for the architect firm for looking at the baby pool and its fixing and replanning. I believe everyone got the estimate that they sent.
Yep.
I move that we pass it.
Second. What was the estimate?
So here, the
And
Section
now we'll
2
say discussion.
yeah. This section 2, cost of service is still to be determined, however, shall not exceed the price of the quote. What?
Say that again.
So section 2, cost of this service is still to be determined, however, shall not exceed the price of the quote.
Where are you guys at?
Resolution
Not
2020-07.
to exceed $25,000.
You guys have the one that was still in your folder from last week. It says cost of services not to exceed 25,000.
Thank you.
And does that still seem to be the case?
We really don't think it's gonna go over 16.5. Like,
Yeah, that
we-
from the email that we got. the other
correct.
day.
We
Okay.
really don't think it's going to, but in the event that it does, then we have to stop the project, come back to everybody. We do, after rereading it, we really do believe it's gonna be right around 16.5.
And this is the last, just one of the hoops we have to jump through for that grant that we
Unfortunately.
had, okay.
This
For
is-
the 75,000 in free money.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, we can
This
spend
is the
16
architect
grand.
design.
Yeah, it was left from
Yes.
the original
What
paperwork.
what are all are they gonna do?
It's just he's.
Well, I know, but
It's the architect that's putting together the actual diagrams and the architectural stuff for the bid process. Has to be done.
is there anything special about
This
it?
is overrun.
Where did they
Not
decide
having
to
back
find it
council
located?
if it comes
Is that
in
be
at,
behind the pool?
you know, because
area?
Exact same
16.5
spot,
plus an
except it's
hour
gonna be bigger.
if it goes
Exactly
beyond
where it was?
40
Yes,
hours of
it's
work
gonna be
per
bigger.
Close to the
person.
building.
Yep.
Right, so why make them come back for an hour's work,
There was
or 2
discussion
hours
about
work, or
it.
3 hours work?
Yeah,
Right,
this whole thing
this
ended up
is-
being quite-
If you have to
usually
issue an
extra
extra,
amount of
Can't wait to dive in.
We can dive in and
put your toe in.
2021.
voice your concerns, speak up.
Wish I had grandkids.
I mean, I think we'll have a couple conversations with.
Yeah, so let's, does anyone have a positive or negative, a point they would like to make about this? Let's see if we can get back to one person at a time here. Did I hear someone down there has something they wanna say?
No, I thought that, bumping it up to 25 seemed a little bit excessive, but I wouldn't. I mean, you know, it was one thing when it's the software stuff, but when it's an architect, I think really tight reins need to be on this person based on the type of project. We're not asking them to build a facility, which I understand has a lot of stuff going. We're just asking them to do a simple design work for a pool. And after talking to Beth, who's also an architect, I asked her, I didn't tell her what they were quoting, I just said, what do you think should be quoted on something like this where you have to do diagrams and all that? And she said, well, 15,000. So, I think we could, I don't know, what happened to the other architect we were referring
He
to?
didn't respond, he didn't,
No response.
no response today. But it's only been since Friday.
Yeah.
They usually bill, what, about 400 an hour plus expenses?
This one's 5.
This one's 5.
So,
I think we have probably picked, I mean, and we went through this with the facility, we went through this for the topographic survey, that's a better example. So, we were suggested or referred to 6 top-tier companies, and the amount that came back just about. So, then, we went back and started asking about mom and pop firms. Because when you ask at this level, when you ask our engineers and all that, there were gonna be people on the high end anyway. And I don't think we need that for a baby pool, that's my opinion. And if we researched a little bit more and found smaller architectural firms, I think we could probably get the price down, but on the other hand, you say, well, maybe we don't wanna take that kind of time because we've got grant money, it's just, we're using up the grant money faster, but it is grant money, so. But I don't know. I'd just like to see I'd like to see us try for a smaller architectural firm, more of a mom and pop, and get the price down.
The issue that I'm being told is not everybody can just do a pool. It's a different type of, and it's difficult to, we've actually had our engineer and our law director trying to find somebody to help do this with not a lot of luck. So, I'd already reached out to.
I agree, but I don't think they're the right people to ask.
No, so I reached out to Patterson again,
Right.
and Friday called around to several companies and still only found one person that was willing to even talk to me, so, that had interest in doing it. And that was only because that's the person that Patterson typically uses, and like I said, I was hoping to have the estimate today and didn't get it.
so if I can ask a question.
Yes.
So you reached out to a personal contact who's in the field, who back of the envelope said about 15,000.
No, I just talked to a general architect.
Yeah, a
not
personal,
pool
yeah,
level.
but architect is within the
Someone
field
that
of
works in-
architecture,
yeah,
right?
they're
It's a-
familiar.
I mean, they're not a pool specialist, but is in the field of architecture. Right, that's, and they said back of the envelope 15,000. So the quote that came back from the specialist in the pool architecture field
Right,
came back only 10% more than your general, it was rough estimate.
right.
So I think that's reasonable, right? I don't think that, they didn't come back 50% over the back of the envelope rough estimate, they didn't come back 100% over the back of them, they came back 10% over.
And
That
if this were
and-
written that way, I would be
So-
voting for it.
So your concern is that the
Mark,
legislation
our
is written such that we are allowing the project continue without reconsulting council for more money. So,
No, my concern is more than that. My concern is, I think that it should be, I think we should hold them to the 17.6.
well, so the
Not
16,
granted.
16.5,
Whatever it is.
and, but the problem is that, so if we hold him to 65, and he does 16.5 worth of work, but the job isn't done, and then we say, well, you've gotta finish it, and he says no. So then the choice will come back, either it's gotta come back for new legislation to appropriate more money, or,
Without an emergency.
or we, well, appropriations are never need an emergency, but we probably have to waive readings,
Nope.
or we can build in some
Yeah,
amount of
no,
overlay.
I understand what you're saying. I mean, to me, it's a matter of management. They're not, if they were building the pool, I would say we would need a contingency, because a lot of that stuff
So-
over there is
so
very
how-
old, that's different.
So how much
This is just
contingency?
drawing, this is
I
making drawing.
think every architect on the planet just cringed when they heard that, right? I'm sure they don't think their job is just drawing. I'm sure they think that there are complexities beyond just drawing.
Okay,
So my question would be, how much overrun that we would allow for are you comfortable with? Right, so he says, beyond the hours built into the estimate, it's $500 an hour. So
Why would he go over it?
because feces occurs. Because something is more complicated than originally thought. Because,
oftentimes in projects like these, the person who is commissioning it says, well, now that we've seen this, we want you to do this.
Yeah, but
and
we're not
that.
gonna do that.
Well,
he
we
doesn't know
don't,
We
that.
can't
we don't,
do that.
we don't know that we're not gonna
We
do
don't
All
it.
have-
unforeseen
Well,
conditions.
Yeah, there's,
Okay, well,
We
I,
don't control it, it's a grant and it goes to ODNR for their approval. So
Right.
if they don't agree with something in the architectural work,
and
then it
send it
comes,
back to
and they
him.
send it back to him
He'll have more
as
work to do.
our fault because we didn't tell him or we didn't do certain things, that's not his fault.
Or because the
So-
guy who's approving his approval has a different opinion than the guy who left the job a week ago, and now he needs 2 more hoops to be jumped.
so I
I
think
have a
at this
question.
point, thank you, Brian and Diane, for your views on that. I think we'll go with Joe, and then see if someone else has something, because we're starting to get to where we're saying the same things.
Yeah,
So, Joe, we'll let you,
I haven't seen the final plan, so I was just wondering what the entire scope of the work was, because typically what they have to design isn't just, concrete reinforcement, they got drains, they got a lot of.
I
Yeah.
emailed
And-
the actual proposal to everybody, what he's
he's-
gonna be doing.
He's actually, here's the paper of it. He has in there that this is through construction. This isn't just this is going through the whole phase in the construction.
But I mean,
He
just
thinks it should be
generically,
16.5.
I know the pool has to be completely
Yeah.
separated with its filter system from the other pool.
This
Does it
is-
have to have separate drains?
Yes, it'll be, that's part of all that's happened. There's a lot that's gonna happen, but yes,
So
Joe.
I was just,
Yeah, it's a pretty substantial,
yeah, there's,
it's not patching the concrete, it's rebuilding the
and
baby
there's
pool.
electrical in there.
Yeah,
Right, but even a lot of that stuff is not even going to be in Patterson's original, again, that's all, we haven't even gotten to that part. So
Yeah.
we're gonna get bids that's gonna tell us how much they're gonna charge us to do X, Y, and Z. Whether or not that includes the additional outbuilding or the plumbing for that outbuilding, I mean, there's still, like, if you look through Patterson's original proposal, it's not everything, there's still plumbing that's outside of that $104,000 estimate that we got.
I
So-
wasn't trying to break it down or complain, I was just, typically an architect, if there's a bunch of electrical, there's plumbing in here, farms that out to another engineering firm, so there's cost to that.
okay. Anyone else with any discussion on this before we move for a vote?
Councilman Berger,
Go ahead.
section 2 does seem from my perspective, a perfectly appropriate, section with the, cost to be still determined, however, not exceeding the price of the quote. I think that is I think that's a good way for
Well,
us
the
to.
that's, do you have the old one?
No, I've got
Yes,
the
you
new
do.
one. I do?
It shouldn't say the price of the quote there, it should say 25K.
Oh, okay, so that was before we got the number. In that case, I've got nothing to contribute. I think it's perfect then.
So, yeah,
The old way
section
protects
2,
us
for those
too.
of you who have an old copy like I did, line 2 used to say shall not exceed, that just said the price of the quote. Line 2 shall say, shall not exceed 25,000. Currently, he's coming in, he's saying,
17 or
the quote, whatever,
16.
estimate
16.5
is
or something.
16.5. We're saying, okay, and it can't go more than 25. That way, if there's a little bit of overrun, we don't have to go through this again. We can just say, well, it's still under 25. We don't have to pass the new
So
ordinance.
either way, we're protected to keep the
Yeah.
process keep the process rolling. That sounds great to me
Alright.
then.
So the other option is if you guys want to lower it to no more than X amount instead, we put that number in as a recommendation from someone. So
If
that's
someone
what,
wants to propose an
administration got it.
amendment, now would be the time, and we can amend it, or
Is the plumbing in the bathrooms over there in good shape, Tony? The pool?
That's
No.
a different.
No, that's a totally
that's a
different
completely
project.
different project.
Yeah,
I
just
know
wanna
it
touch
is.
that.
That's a question though.
Yeah.
Is the plumbing at the pool
For the
in
baby
good
pool.
shape?
It's old and it's not, it's gonna break down at some point. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Well,
all I can
that's-
say. Is
so-
it 60 or whatever, 40, 50 years old?
We're not laughing, are we?
Well, it's not part of the project.
No, it
Yeah.
has nothing to do with
It
it.
is nothing.
So
No,
I did just do the numbers at $500 an hour, that
Well, I'm trying to make it
$25,000 total is equal to
18
an
hours.
overrun of, a potential overrun of 17 hours, which is almost half,
Again.
again, what he had intended to do. Almost half again seems
A lot.
like maybe more than is necessary. So I would be perfectly fine saying 16,000 plus 10 hours, right, which would take us to 21.5. I think a third of the work over again doesn't seem unreasonable. It's not my preference, and we would drive for hitting the 16.5 by any lever we have, but this would avoid us having to come back to council. Or my second suggestion would be to table this and give the other architect a chance to come in at some other number to prove out, to either give us a better option or prove out that this is our best option.
Where do we stand on the time frame with the grant money? Are we still, like, is
it's
there
not
a
gonna happen until next year anyway, so, I mean, at this point, we have until,
Okay, so this
we're,
won't,
we
this
still.
won't hurt us then.
Well, let me rephrase that.
Okay.
We would still prefer to get this project done this year so it would open next year. If it takes us 6 months to do this, yeah, there's a chance we may not open in May of next year. Because you're battling the season, you're also battling people that are already on their books for next year that couldn't get in to do theirs for whatever reason this year. So that's gonna be part of the bid as well.
What is the
We're not
deadline on the grant? I didn't have a chance to
I
look.
believe it was 18 months, but I
18
honestly
months.
don't even have it in front of me right now. And yeah, so we're summer of next year. And it could be the end of next year. It's
Well,
2021, but I don't know what month.
It's definitely important to know that, cause you,
It's definitely 2021, but no.
forfeiting the grant money is
Yeah.
not something you want.
Okay,
Especially now.
so are you actually motioning to amend it to 21.5?
I'm gonna make two motions.
Can we make one motion and then another?
So my first motion is to amend this to 21.5.
Okay, do you have a second?
My second motion is.
No, do you have someone to second your
Oh,
motion?
anybody seconding that
Second.
motion? Tony
Okay,
seconds.
Tony seconds.
All in favor?
So, any
Alright.
discussion on changing it down to 21.5?
I just have another clarification question. Is this architect then going to, manage the actual project and, hire the construction crew? Is it going to be that type?
This has to go out to
No,
bid.
that's
Yeah.
not what they do.
This
I
is
mean,
just
they'll-
the
they'll get
architectural
calls from the
work.
builder.
No, I mean after the,
No.
once you pick the architect.
Correct. This is the
You're
architect.
picking the architect,
MSKS is the architect. We're picking them right now.
and they're doing the documents part.
They are just doing the documents, that's it.
Well, they're
They
doing
have,
the documents and then overseeing throughout to make sure the documents
What
are
an
followed.
architect would
correct,
do is
just the
they're-
documents,
They
but
would be
this
there just to
project is going
consult with
out
the
to bid
Yes.
contractor.
to that
Yeah.
contractor.
Construction process.
So
Yeah.
I definitely, okay, so I don't have any other comments on that motion. I think I prefer the other motion of tabling it.
Yeah,
but-
Okay, we'll get to that, we have to, we can only look at one motion at a time, we can't double dip on
To
these.
Diane's point, it's unusual if an architect designs a pool, then it goes out to bid and they actually build it, they don't come see to it that they.
This is not where, he's not gonna start designing until we get
Well, I
closer
think
to
that's
it.
what Diane's question was, are they gonna just, are they gonna
They don't-
inspect the
once
pool
they-
as it's being
They
constructed?
will be there to talk with the builder, whoever the contractor is, that's
Right.
part of their, and that's when
We'll
you start running
consult
into more
with them.
money. Yes, once you start
Exactly,
building,
that's.
Well, I
And
think
then they
that's,
gotta start
that's what,
working
isn't
with
that
the
what
con-
you're asking,
All of
Diane,
that
is that
is
included?
into this 33 hours.
Is,
No.
Yes.
Yes, that's
No.
included in the 33 hours.
Hold on, no. I just wanna make sure everybody's on the same page. They are going to assist the village engineer in submitting the permits and approvals in collaboration with the selected contractor. They're going to proceed with preparing the construction documents, coordinate and review with the village engineer. They're going to assist answering bidder questions, reviewing bids. They're going to assist the village engineer with construction, observation, and administrative tasks, including periodic site visits during construction. They will also help prepare a punch-out list and project closeout. But including periodic site visits during construction, they're not saying that they're gonna oversee this project by
No.
any
No,
stretch.
no, they're
So I
not.
wanna make sure that
They're
that's,
not the
Yeah.
foreman, but they will
No.
come and ensure that the
that
work
is
done,
oversight though by an
Correct.
architect.
to their,
Yeah.
correct, but
They're
I'm
gonna
just
see
saying
so
they
the
don't,
plumbing's in right before they pour
Correct.
concrete, they're gonna, the real.
I just wanna make sure
reinforcements
people
is drained.
understand that they're not,
They're not in charge, they're not the ones
correct.
saying,
They
they're
will
saying, these
oversee
are the
it.
plans, are you following them? Good. Now
No,
go.
There,
they'll
yeah.
see to it the specifications are followed.
Yes.
It's critical.
I just wanna make sure everybody understands that they're not gonna be out there every day overseeing this project.
Okay, is there any more discussion on the amendment to change the 25,000 to 21,500? Nope. All right, do we, an amendment, do we just do a voice vote, I believe? All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Okay, now, back to 2020-07 as amended, to 2105, I believe
Now I'd
Councilperson
like to
Wolf
move that we
had a
table
second
this
amendment,
until our next
a
meeting.
motion.
Yeah, so that my motion is that we table this legislation until our next meeting, to see if another, we are anticipating another, estimate from another architect. And if that estimate comes in, we can consider that one, or, move forward with this one.
All right, do you have a second?
second.
Seconded by Councilperson Benedetti. Any discussion on this? As maker of the motion, you can speak first.
All in favor?
Ooh, Robert's rules. Anyone else? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, it has been tabled to the next council meeting. And thus although I'll do a quick legislative report, we have two new ordinances that came out of planning and zoning that are gonna get written up for us then to just talk about. One is about sidewalks in the new area and who's gonna pay for it, how they're gonna get fixed when they're broke. And the other is changes to the makeup of the planning and zoning committee and how they are kept or dropped off or renewed. And that is it. So,
All right.
yes.
New business.
I do. I'd like to talk a little, I guess, bring something to the attention of council, or to get council to start working on what we need permits for in the village. This has been something I've been going around in circles with at planning and zoning. And the real discussion needs to be through council, as the whole group of us need to start talking about what we want to make residents get permits for. For example, we recently, passed accessory structures in 2017. That particular ordinance it doesn't have any description of what is an acceptable shed. It just says that you need to get a permit to have a shed or to have any accessory structure. And it doesn't describe it at all. What's an acceptable shed? That's one thing that we need to talk about, is to clarify what an accessory structure is. And do we want to make people get permits for patios, decks? You know, now on the list of things that we need permits for, it says that you need to get a building permit to install a door or windows or a roof or siding. These are all things that I believe that we are not interpreting the code correctly when we say that residents have to get a permit to install a roof, siding, windows, and exterior doors. So,
And furnaces,
well, I haven't heard about that one yet.
that's Franklin County,
But, well, this is the point that we need to talk about, is that we do not, as a municipal, an incorporated village, a municipal corporation, we do not follow Franklin County ordinances. Franklin County zoning ordinances only apply to the unincorporated portions of the county, which are the townships. So all the Franklin County ordinances, over the years, we've been told we need to get a permit for Franklin County to install a hot water heater. That is not accurate. We do not have to get a permit to install a hot water heater from Franklin County because those ordinances do not apply to our municipality. So the greater discussion, because we've gone around in circles, and it's been quite heated in planning and zoning meetings, as the last one, when I started to talk about driveways. You know, our village planner has cited, and I wish you guys would all take a look at this. Code 1477 is called use of right-of-ways.
which book code though?
What's that?
That's the Uniform Building Code?
No, it's from our code,
Oh,
our
okay,
ordinances.
okay, local, right.
1477. This has been construed to say, and the title of it is use of right-of-ways. This has been construed by our planner that everybody that puts a driveway in has to get a use of right-of-way permit. It's not even, and in our fee schedule, it's described as a driveway permit. So, to shorten this up, we need to bring this to the top of our list of things to do because it's spring and people are gonna start building sheds, doing all the different things that people do. And when you call up and ask, do I need a permit for this? The staff doesn't really even know what to tell them. So this is something that it needs to be brought to the top of our list.
I can speed this up very quickly.
I was actually gonna ask a question first.
And then
Hang
there's
on.
sorry.
How about,
Sorry.
how about the Wednesday, or how about the Monday night meeting for March? Whether or not we have one topic or two, but,
You say the Monday night work
The-
session?
yes,
Yeah.
the Monday night work
Right.
session, you wanna talk about
I'll
it
have those on the
sooner,
agenda.
I don't think Saturday's
Well,
gonna
it's
be a
every
good
third
day.
Monday, isn't it?
Would that be Monday the 9th?
Oh, I have no
No, the
idea.
third Monday would be the
Be the
16th.
third Monday.
Third Monday would
And
be the
that's something that
16th.
you could get everybody involved,
Correct, the 16th.
I mean, does anybody have interest for that? I don't know what your guys' topic was gonna be, I'm just pointing out that maybe that could be one of the topics, because, and I'll let everybody else talk in 30 seconds. Maybe not. So, along with that, we've had some issues with citing people for certain things and then coming, or, they argue it and it comes back and we're like, yeah, well, maybe, maybe not. So, and the one I don't wanna get into specifics because we've got a couple letters out. But we've cited 2 people, and I'm not even talking about your person, but we've cited 2 people with code violations that we actually can't even enforce. Because our codes don't, we're trying, but
Well, that's.
we want it to say something, we feel like it says something, but it doesn't actually say what we want it to say. That's the easiest way to explain it. So people that are parking like in the street, multiple work vehicles in the street is actually not covered.
Well, we can't do
We'll leave it
anything
alone.
about
So
it.
there's multiple levels here, not to belabor this particular meeting, because this
Yeah.
is a very long discussion, as we've noted.
Yeah.
The P and Z is taking this up, There has been a lot of discussion. The village has, you know, a prerogative to obviously review. There is noted gray areas within the code.
Yes.
But yes, people can decide, the council can make a formal decision as to, you know, who, at the end of the day, clean up the code and who gets permits and who doesn't. And so P&Z is going to go through this extensively, and there'll be a recommendation, so the council does not necessarily need to belabor itself unless it really
Well-
wants to, in multiple meetings, doing it along that, you know, multiple pathways. So it's up to council as a whole.
I'd like to say to that, because let me relay one of the frustrations at planning and zoning is that they work on things, and then, in the end, it's all dependent on what the six of us wanna do. So I don't wanna take planning and zoning out of the process, but in this particular case, I think it's important that we get this taken care of, and it doesn't need to go through planning and zoning. Not all these things have to go to planning and zoning. We can go back and tell them what we've decided, but we really need to get this, taken care of as quickly as possible.
They do not have to go
And
through planning and
wait for
zoning.
planning and zoning to go
You'll have
through
the
it.
benefit of planning and zoning in my work when you have your meeting on Monday. So you can decide what to do with it as a continuance.
Yeah,
at that
because
point.
the one thing I would say, planning and zoning, I think, is there to do that. And I know if planning and zoning said, hey, look, we looked at these, and we had council representative on that, and we had our village planner there, and we had 3, citizens, plus the mayor, plus maybe even 2 citizens who are not voting, depending on legislation that is yet to pass, or even been read. And they came up with, this is our recommendations. I know trying to predict the future, but I would probably, unless they came up with crazy recommendations, I'd be like, oh, good. We had a committee to look at this, and they looked at it. Let's trust that
Well, I
they did their
can
job.
just say that it's been perceived that they have come up with some crazy recommendations.
Well, then they need to stop being crazy.
Well,
And just one little tidbit to that,
Yeah.
as part of a conversation. You guys are about to tear apart the sidewalk one that just came up to you guys from planning and zoning. And I don't mean tear it up, but the conversation that we really had was, we can talk about it in planning and zoning, but you guys are gonna have the same type of discussion, and ultimately you guys are the end.
Yeah.
So, and you guys are, the issue is they sent it up because it was well written, it does hit all of the aspects, but the unfortunate part is we kind of decided we might as well send it here, because us arguing about the permit cost, us arguing about whether or not to let residents do it themselves or not, doesn't matter by the time it gets here. So I'm not in disagreement with planning and zoning doing it, but the feelings of planning and zoning is they spend all of this time and all of these hours giving you guys a recommendation,
only for us to change.
only for you guys to just do it all over again for 2 hours. And here's all I'm gonna say. I sit on planning and zoning for 2 hours, so I don't wanna go through planning and zoning for 2 hours and then come right here and sit here for 2 hours, although I will. But I'm not in disagreement that you guys are about to turn the sidewalk around too.
2 of the people are at these planning and zoning meetings.
Regarding that, think statutory form of government, right?
Yep.
Now,
Yep.
again, I'm not in
The
disagreement.
statutory form of government is what says
It's a process.
these things need to come to us from planning and zoning, and then we have the right to act upon them, so.
And you do, but why not, in regards to this, we have discussed it numerous times in planning and zoning.
You do have zoning code involved, the only thing I'll say, and it has to come through as one of the duties. Planning and zoning has to review zoning code and then pop it up to council. So you have that aspect of it too, right? Just keep that in mind. So they are doing their duty, they are reviewing it, and they will, forward it up to you one way or the other.
So,
But planning and zoning isn't reviewing it, you are.
No,
Yeah.
sir, I'm not.
When you talk
My
about
job
permitting-
as staff is to put things together and then give it to planning and zoning to then move it forward in the process. Right,
So-
planning and zoning makes that decision recommendation, council then votes on it to implement it.
So I'm hearing Tony wants us to talk more about this. If we have that work session on the 16th of March, do we wanna just make that about ordinances, and by then we'll have been a planning and
Yes.
zoning meeting, and we can look at what they do and talk about it in that work session? Is that what we're hearing, and am I
Yep.
hijacking things that I shouldn't
No,
be?
No, you're
absolutely.
Okay.
That
Bring
sounds
this to your
fair.
resolution.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's exactly what was just said, and I think that's a wonderful plan.
To Tony's point, say for example, we don't have a specific, requirement to get a permit to install a new furnace.
No, it's not us. We don't require mechanicals in that sense. What may end up happening is that under state building code, the building department of record has to review it. In this case, Franklin County is our building department of record. It's not a zoning issue in that case, it's a state law regarding building code, right?
Well,
That's the issue.
That's
Yep.
why I wanted to clarify,
Johnny,
because Tommy
our
said.
building
Yes, they are.
They are
Now-
our building inspector.
They are a
Isn't it?
building department, buddy.
So,
No, I
so
don't.
we
No,
basically
it's
have
not.
something that says we've adopted the
Yes,
uniform bill.
we have to follow state code, it's the law. So we can't, cities
And the
used to be
state
able,
code's adopted the,
yeah, we used to be
Uniform.
able, as cities, you
Okay.
used to be able to write your own building code, those days are gone.
That's
We
not
have to
true
follow state
either.
code. That's absolutely true.
so-
and that applies to the
There's a
municipal
different-
record code.
Hold on.
Instead of yelling,
I'm sorry.
instead of
I'm
yelling,
sorry.
let's ask, can we get
Yep.
an opinion from the village attorney,
Yep.
opining on both of those statements?
Absolutely.
And once we have that, then we can move forward based on
I
that.
have
It's,
to-
you know what, we can talk about the quality of our attorney at another meeting as
No,
well.
I'm just
but
saying,
we-
I've
that's
asked
what we
him
have to
before,
do. That's what we
I've
have
asked
to
him
do.
before, he has yet to respond to
Okay,
that
well,
question.
then we can ask again, and we can argue about it then, but what we need is those statements.
And either way, neither of that's remain too, so work session on the 16th, zoning and code stuff.
Okay,
Yeah,
It is in
March
my-
I would just say
16th.
though,
That
just
sounds
in
good.
I guess I'll be.
fundamentally, there's a fundamental
What time is
problem
it?
here that we've had for the last,
Yeah, Monday at
this is
7.
going on 3 years.
The normal, yeah, the normal third Monday
Whether
work
there's
session.
building code responsibilities, Franklin County, whatever. And we haven't gotten past it. I don't wanna have a meeting in the middle of the month until we have a ruling and an agreement,
Well, let me,
so we can,
Go ahead.
could I? Oh, go
No,
ahead.
let Diane finish.
just so that we have, if we don't have a rule, if we don't have an agreement and understanding amongst ourselves and planning and zoning as to what the purposes and the goals and the responsibilities and the, if we don't have that, I don't wanna spend that just arguing that point because we don't have the knowledge.
Well, we would go on to what we think and then if it matters, it matters.
I just wanna say that this is where all of my, angst towards the law director started, when we had a meeting about the building code. And if you look, and I can prove this, is that I was told, okay, we established a residential building department in Minerva Park in 2007. Okay, we did not adopt the state residential building code until probably 2010 or 2011.
Oh,
And
sorry.
at that time,
I did that. to
I
be
was told
dramatic, and I-
that the reason we didn't adopt it is that
Yeah, we do
everybody
want
has
to
to follow, excuse me,
Yeah, Mayor, I'm sorry, you guys.
Sorry
you
about
guys
that.
need to pay attention here, please.
So the question is, Tony, I know, I think,
I'm sorry, I'm a
I've
little
heard-
heated about this, cause I
No.
fought with the law director over this, and this is what I wanna point out, is that it took them, it wasn't until after we had a meeting, and I was told that everybody in the state of Ohio has to follow the state residential building code. That is not true. This is what the law director said. I know for a fact Dublin has their own building code. The thing that has confused our law director is that the codes that we enact cannot conflict with the state residential building code. There's a difference between not being allowed to have your own code and having a code that doesn't conflict. Because they established a process for people who felt like the code in their municipality conflicted with the state code. They put together a process to address that. And the Board of Building Standards will look at that code and make the changes or determine whether it did or didn't conflict. So when we ask our law director for his opinion on this particular issue, he is woefully, he does not understand the way it works. And Eric just got finished reciting the same thing, that everybody has to follow the state residential code, and that's not true, Eric. Just
I
ask
hear you,
Dublin.
buddy, I hear you.
Dublin has their own building permit,
I
a
hear what
building
you're saying.
code.
We'll have the law director opine upon it, and that will be the legal direction. He's the one with JD, and he's the one who passed the bar, okay? He's the one who's municipal attorney.
Well,
You are
all
not.
you have to do is call the Board of Building Standards, and they'll tell you.
Oh, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Well,
Move to adjourn?
No, I think we are still on new business.
No, we're still on new business. So in planning and zoning, we talked about whether or not we had to do a voice yay or nay or whatever to, I believe this is what we were talking about planting the
Apple tree.
apple trees and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
We
yeah.
just kind of wanted the blessing from council before they started planting them and what areas they were gonna
Yes.
plant them in.
So I think what we could do for council's purpose, council obviously to okay that, wanna see where they're at. So I think by, since we've still got another meeting in a couple of weeks, we could put that in front of them, map-wise, and let them, just bring it up for a motion vote at that time.
Happen to know that a resident planted a redwood tree where they're talking about putting those apple trees, so
Okay.
I seen that. There is a redwood sapling over there.
Well,
You can
that's
always
not gonna be a
move
problem for 500 years.
Actually, the redwood across front here at the lake, on the corner, that's taller than the pines around, it's 40 years old. They grow quick.
Robust.
Yes, they grow
I'm in
quick.
favor of apple trees, let that be
Yeah.
known, I'm in favor of all kinds
I
of
was-
trees, so.
Yes. And I would say their original location, as on my walk, I was looking, that little hillside above that one retaining pond would be better probably than that triangle.
Okay.
Although I'd rather have it closer to my house than not, so maybe I should.
But we
inquire about
can
that.
adjust the map there for you.
Yeah.
Are you trying to take all the apples?
Well, you guys wanna put it on the triangle that I can see from my house, I'm saying where it
That's close
originally
to you
was,
too,
down
next
near
to
that
the site
retaining
cabinet.
pond might be nicer, you have a lot of open slope there with nothing growing on it. You have a fence at the top of it, people aren't gonna be getting down, getting into it, you'll have the blossoms on that slope, it'll look nice, as opposed to kinda hidden back in that triangle at the bottom of Maplewood.
The deer will get to those apples.
Yeah, oh, that's all that's gonna get to them,
So this only is gonna be practical.
yeah.
Yes.
All right, any more new business? New business, old business.
Did we get any information on what you were gonna do following up on the, quote on the lake dredging?
I've sent everything that I have for everybody. Yes, I called that company. He didn't. The quick version is they come out and they do the sucker up things, and they have these bags that they basically put it in. They have to lay up on the shoreline for 1 to 3 months. Normally around 3 months to dry out. His concern is whether or not they could actually, and I sent you guys the estimate for him just to
Come out
step
more.
his foot here. The
Yeah,
concern
makes
is over on the North Lake where they would actually lay. The residents are gonna have to view these for basically well over a year, because you can only put so many bags so many times, and the estimate of amount of bags he would have to determine. But if you did 3 bags every 3 months, you're probably looking at 2 years to do this project to suck it out.
But that's without lowering the water level, that's
Does
without
that-
changing the level.
That's a sucker.
That's
Yeah.
suckering it out while it's still wet, not draining the lake,
Yeah.
letting it dry, and then.
Correct.
Does not-
So you're still gonna have.
Can't they haul the bags or the material away while
Not
it's
when
still
they're wet.
wet?
Not when they're wet, yeah, they'll basically come out about every 3 months, and so the issue you have is for 3 months, and then 3 months during the summer, and then you're gonna have the winter, so they don't really lay them out then, so then you're in the next year. So, I mean, the estimate was about 2 years, but it could go to 3, depending on how your season is, how fast they dry out. So you're talking about a project that's, all my view was, it didn't sound like all that appetizing for me,
No,
but
it does not seem viable at all for
3
the
years of
discussed
people,
costs.
yeah, 3 years of people complaining because there's bags laying along the shoreline doesn't sound like a lot of fun. I'm just saying.
There's not enough room for all
No,
the
that was his
bags,
concern.
for all the bags
I
that
don't,
you need.
I don't think there's gonna be a lot of complaint as long as they know they're.
Which is why I believe
there
it's
will be
$600
laws.
I think there will be a
Yeah.
lot of, like, that's.
The North
In my
Lake people,
opinion, I think it's one of those things
it's
you
a
probably
garbage
should gonna
pit
look at it.
stinks.
Yeah, but
it's
they
standing
don't want it,
like
they don't want it on the
3
front
years.
yard for 2 years.
No, I had,
Even if that's getting rid of it, I don't think yeah.
This sounds like a non-starter, to be perfectly frank.
I don't know what studies we have in North Lake, but it's possible, if we were to do any portion of it, say along the west side or along the edges of the lake, that we were gonna put in some wetland areas. It might need some fill in there on the shoreline, but some of this might
Are
be able
you
to be
seriously
used.
talking about wetlands again over there?
We all
discussed
already
this at the
determined
last
we're not
meeting,
doing
wetlands
it.
are not.
Did we decide no wetlands at all?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
Okay.
wetlands are beautiful
No,
in parks.
because the reason I bring this up is that the planting still is part of it in order to put some aquatic plants in there that help control the mosquitoes and the oxygenation and that. So, we're not considering the plants then.
So once the lake is likely dredged, then we can work on
Correct.
planting, and that is something that we can talk to, ODNR or, the Ohio EPA, all kinds of things we can get recommendations for. I mean, I got bags of seeds myself. If we,
Well-
if we need them that bad, I mean.
My only question is if there are places where we wanted to put some of this muck that's still in the lake.
Well, the muck's gonna go to Grove City if we can get them to.
Yeah, I
Guess
know.
that's already there, actually.
To answer his question, yes, I did follow up, I did do all of that, it's $600, I will not spend $600 without your guys' approval, even though it's only $600. To have somebody come out and tell us yay or nay, so if you guys would like for me to go further, I would be more than happy to contact him, meet with him, do everything, but I'm just letting you know that I'm not doing it without your guys' approval,
I'm not.
so,
We've got our due diligence there.
yeah.
Well,
So-
there was
but I will.
this part of it about sealing off North Lake so that you could drain North Lake without draining South Lake. We didn't, he would have to come out, but say
Joe,
anything,
no,
nobody knows.
Joe, that isn't something that, it was talked about, but I don't think we were heading in that direction.
No.
No,
But
I don't think we.
The question isn't whether we're going that way, the question is can this person do that?
If we're not going that way, why are we asking anybody to do it?
Yeah.
That's like
Well-
asking somebody, I'm not gonna fix my car, but if I were going to, could you do it? No.
Well, and this guy's the guy that we wouldn't worry about it
Because if we're
because he's
already
doing it with a
working on-
lake that's full of water, but it looks like we're not going with
We're
it.
already working
No.
on North Lake and we have to drain South Lake, that's gonna be.
Well, we'll drain South Lake when we, I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get to
No,
it.
but we're already saying we're draining South Lake when we're not working.
You gotta drain
Okay.
South Lake to drain the North Lake.
Right. That's how
Yes,
it
so
works.
North Lake is gonna be our
That's the
first
point,
goal.
You don't have to.
So the most cost-effective and time-effective way of, that we've been able to find for this lake project, especially North Lake, is to drain it, dredge it out, clean it up. I've already spoken with, I've already sent some contact, feelers out with the Ohio Department of Forestry to, have a look at the, shoreline and all the abundance of trees and shrubs like you were requesting.
Well, good.
So, yeah,
That's old business.
I know.
What's the report on that? Or
That
I'll
was
stop talking and you
progress.
can keep going on it.
that was my report on that.
You
Good
should have
report.
saved it for your next meeting.
Any other old business?
Nope, not for today. I'll have a list a mile long next week, but I just got here, so, no, not today. Citizens' comments. Come on, I know you got a question.
Kurt, you
I might
brought-
actually have answers for you.
You even brought your laptop, come on now.
Oh, I was just looking at the zoning code. You don't need a permit for a driveway. Kurt Mullane, 2598 Woodley Road, Columbus. I was wondering how Rita's going.
It is going.
As far as being able to, I think we had over 100 occupant changes in the village in 2019. So I was wondering how many of those individuals actually received a notice from Minerva Park that they need to pay income tax.
Minerva
And
Park does not send out a notice. I'll start
The
with that.
reason being that somebody on my street moved in February, and they were texting me, just last week about how to pay taxes. So I think our process might be something we can work on.
Well, I mean, you're.
I agree with you on that, and I had made mention that
More than
previously.
once? Yeah.
More than once.
Okay, so I'll give you the quick rundown.
Kurt and I
Um, So we met with Rita in January and then turned around and met with him again in February. And that was to train our fiscal officer on how to use the system, because we have a new fiscal officer. I gave her some specific addresses to pull up, and all I'm gonna say is those addresses were pulled up and letters have been sent. And those were just homes that I knew of, okay? So at this point, I'm gonna say if anybody has some addresses they want us to look up. Other than that, my goal, my plan is, somebody had asked, do we have an audit system? No, there is nothing. Recommendations are, we can go pull obviously from MLS, we could pull from a lot of different things and start mailing letters as a village. We put some different things for the new development in the newsletter, just to try to remind people, hey, you have Rita taxes or whatever. We know that they have been sending payments back. We know that there are issues. I discussed most of those things with them and what my concerns were. I will tell you there are a lot of people in the new development that are paying. As an elected official, no one up here is allowed to see who's paying, clearly we can't see what they're paying, but I am not allowed to access the system, period, cause I asked, cause I would just go address by address. My goal is either A, to have our fiscal officer, if she has the time, because again, this is going to be, our own audit system would be going address by address and filling out a letter and mailing all of the addresses that we don't see an account set up. So our fiscal officer or hired employee is allowed to go in and specifically go, and we have, to my knowledge, never done this. Because again, I gave several addresses and Rita didn't have them. So that's as much as I know. So yes, they have a flawed system in my opinion. Yes, I just said that on record because I don't know how they wouldn't have known this. So we've all known that they have a flawed system. They do the best, here's how I'm gonna explain it. Rita does the best that they can do. But when they showed up here, they didn't understand why we had so much of an increase of revenue. I was like, we have 250 new houses. They were surprised.
They were here the year before.
It was a different guy.
It doesn't matter, it was still
They didn't
Rita,
know.
the Rita representatives.
They don't know.
They
Talked
should,
about
they
the
should have
MI
known, but they
section.
didn't know, that's what we're
Talked
saying.
about the
Yeah.
MI section.
That's crazy,
Yeah, they
there you
didn't
go.
know.
They agreed that they would be looking for addresses and they wouldn't
He claimed he spent a long time analyzing the data, trying to figure out how it was analyzed. So I actually pulled up a couple streets. So your frustration's heard. My goal is to either A, with council's approval, hire somebody to go address by address, and we will start with one street and go to the next. The other option is we use our fiscal officer's hours when she's not busy. Now, my other point to this is, my goal is to start in May with a new development. I think it's pointless to start right now, because they're all creating accounts, most people are gonna do their taxes by April 15th, so I'm gonna state that on the record, I'm not doing the new section until after May 1st. I think it would be pointless. But I do have a plan to go from residential, but also commercial, because I do believe that commercial is also not, I just don't think their system is, yeah, I just don't think their system, and also that being said, there are people that just don't pay. They are getting letters, they aren't paying, it is what it is, it's just like federal taxes, they aren't paying those either. There's nothing we can do about that. They're gonna, they're getting the letters, they're getting, liens on their property, they're getting those types of things, and that is all we can do as far as that goes. But yeah, how many of those, is it something that maybe we start doing something and mailing every single person, don't forget to pay your Rita taxes, a letter as soon as they move in the village? That's an option.
I think it's a good idea to send out a mail to everybody
Right.
once a year.
So is there a way to do that in the escrow process when people are purchasing?
No, I mean, no, because we wouldn't know who, no, not in the
It-
escrow, because they could go
It's
through any
funny
closing
working
agency.
on it. I happened to talk to them up in
Yeah.
Cleveland at Rita for a couple hours today.
Can I,
And is the deadline April 15th? That's one thing I forgot. to
Technically,
ask.
no, the deadline is actually January 15th. Anybody that doesn't have at least 10% of their amount paid by last year will get a fine.
The
But don't
gentleman,
ask me how I know that.
the gentleman returns the,
so stupid question.
So it's January 15th every year?
Correct.
Can you, as far as a place to start, can you like start with in 2019 if someone moved in?
We can
Based on the
start,
Franklin County report I sent you?
here's,
Or you can go pull your own.
oh no, I can pull my own. I mean, as
Yeah.
far as all the new houses that have been
No,
sent.
not new, even used.
Even just people moving into the old area.
No, that's what I mean.
Classic.
Yes, I have, yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I
I
have
mean, it's a
MLS.
place to start. I mean, you start with 2019, then go to 2019.
This is on the record, the issue is not that, the issue is a support team that has, because I can't do it, council can't do it, I have one person that can do it, she's been here for 3 months.
Can read it.
You're gonna trust them to do it, they should be doing it.
Yeah, they should be sending bills.
Maybe that wasn't very nice to say, but in all honesty,
Is it a part of their contract?
never seen their contract.
If you send them a list of your house changes, they won't do it.
Yes, they will do it, I would assume that they would do it.
But they
Yes.
would try to
We
put a
have-
list together.
We have a list.
If we put the list together, do I have the list?
You have a list from Franklin County, you can pull that down.
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah, I mean, we could get the list and send it to them every single time that there's that. Again, there's people that haven't, never
Well,
mind.
no, I'm not, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, you gotta, if someone didn't get a letter, like someone on my street.
No, they're not gonna get a letter. Here, the way that Rita works is that once they file their taxes, or the way that they find them is when they file their federal taxes. So if they haven't filed their federal taxes yet with that address, Rita will not find them. The other way that Rita finds them is when they transfer their electric bill. Diane, were you in that meeting? Like their electric bill or something like that, they find them that way. So again, if
It's
they're,
mostly, but they're not being, they're, you know, they're waiting, it's the last thing they do is do that audit. So
Correct.
it's way after,
It seems like we should be more proactive. Why are we
Right.
finding people
right.
if they didn't know?
Right.
Sometimes don't.
well, again,
Very
I will
valid.
be the first to admit I got hit with a nice little fine not knowing that it had to be in by January 15th, not April 15th. So it's due from the year prior is due January 15th. So if you're self-employed, good luck with that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, in my discussions today, I didn't know the subject would come up, so they find out a lot of stuff from the city of Columbus where they exchange information. I mean,
Mhm.
I didn't know about it, so I've never technically
Right.
registered with Rita, but I was registered. So I wanted to call them, you know, make sure I'm okay there. My tax person knows nothing.
And I believe that's
Tax
the case.
preparers are very confused about it.
They are.
We could
So, yes, we
There's
could
a
definitely
guy
be more
over at
proactive.
Strawberry Farms who knows all about it.
And that's something that we can start with, but yes, we can just send a list to them and hope that they do it, but I feel like, again, it would be nice for us to just be able to cross-reference if we gave them a much smaller list, like if we were able to check those, maybe they would be more apt to doing it. I understand it's their job and they should be doing it, so I'm gonna go with, we can do it either way or both way. I mean, me personally, just because those are new people that have moved there, there's MLS and things like that aren't gonna have the full list. So if you have renters in and out of there, if you have, people that didn't necessarily sell the house, but it's somebody else's house that they're living in now, you're not gonna have that with MLS, you're not gonna have that with Franklin County.
I think those percentages are low.
They are,
Yeah.
they are definitely very low. Yes,
That are
there's,
registered.
What if we mailed a postcard that had the rules of Rita on there? That would be the same thing as telling them they need to register, but it would
I
also
think
tell
a letter
them
coming,
how.
I think a letter directly coming from Rita is gonna hold way more weight than us sending a postcard basically saying, hey, file your taxes. Rita going, hey, you didn't file your taxes is probably the better letter to send.
Well, part of the confusion is the rules are entirely different than anything state or federal on
Yes.
income tax.
Well, again, they're due January 15th, so that was one
As
rule
in,
that
if
was
you have a
different.
loss, you still have to file.
Yes,
A lot of people don't know that. So there's gonna be a lot of people, you know, falling through the cracks.
so, but yes, that's why we had the second sit down, so she knew how to go through every single one. And I will tell you that, yes, we can pull that list, and I will pull that list and see if we can send it over to them. But again, there's people that I sent them a list from 5 years ago that have never filed, that we don't believe have filed.
I just wanna say that, you know, considering that our revenue is really from income tax,
Mhm.
it would behoove us, in my opinion, I think the fiscal officer, waiting for the fiscal officer to have time.
I don't disagree.
I think we could certainly, contract with someone for so many hours a month to manage or monitor it and, do as appropriate, whether it's be sending out a letter or making a phone call or whatever, or having someone in, sit down and consult on, you know, why, you know, what is Rita and all that. I think having a dedicated person, is warranted based on the fact of how much we depend on that money coming in.
I'm not
I think
disagreeing.
once a year, hiring someone part-time to do that for 2 or 3 weeks in May after taxes have gone out and we have a better grip on who has or hasn't would be a great idea. We can put that, move that to,
I don't know exactly where Rita
business at some
begins
point.
and
What-
ends.
what
with
committee
they
would do that?
out
Finance?
Probably.
do we want?
I can talk to finance on
We have finance
Wednesday.
this Wednesday, do we wanna push that to finance and talk about it Wednesday?
What actually does Rita do then? I mean, they
That's
just
a good
process the.
They process it, they do more than we can do,
That's a discussion
so.
for right now,
They just
right?
process the
really
taxes that drop on their desk?
Can we,
No,
All right,
can
Kurt,
we,
you
can we
opened up a
limit
can
this
of worms.
discussion to what's useful for this meeting? Cause
I'm teasing
we're
you.
not gonna
I had
figure out what
answers.
Rita does now.
For 6
So-
years on this.
Well, the one thing I'd say, we're gonna actually maybe start doing something.
Well,
When
no,
you say
I've already
maybe,
started.
We are gonna
I'll
start
do
doing
it for
something.
$1 an hour.
So and that's the finance question that we're gonna have is whether or not we should allow somebody from the village to be able to do it as a village, it has to be an actual village employee, or if we would prefer to hire somebody outside of the village to do it or once again, I can always throw, Becky in with a few more hours or something like that, if we wanted to have somebody like her sit behind a desk for an hour, 2 hours a week.
I
Again,
don't know.
finance,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
agree,
we'll do
finance.
it.
Yeah,
So
we'll
think
talk about that in
finance.
finance, cause I definitely think just giving Becky some overtime in May is probably the quickest, easiest way to do it.
And she knows what she's doing.
Why hire someone new if we have, but we'll talk about that Wednesday, cause we have a meeting in 2 days, so.
Citizen comments,
say that for
speak
that.
now or forever hold your peace. All right,
Anyone in the back
Kurt,
row?
I'm on it.
Made sense for me today, cause I was on the phone with him.
Yeah, but he knows me.
Thank you. Sorry to look.
No?
Can we get a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
I don't have to say anything
No.
anymore, let's go. I always do it wrong anyways.
Sorry.
That's what I have you guys for, huh?
I'm still coming.
Oh, and Brian, I looked at the sidewalk thing again, there is, the permit fee is $100, up to $100 for the building inspection. There's already a fee put in there if you want a permit to do it yourself, of up to $100.
But everybody's gotta pay that fee, that's like a permitting fee. I'm saying, yeah, because whether you're doing it yourself.
Oh, that's right, you're saying, okay, I'm sorry.
Hire a contractor.
He wants this, Brian wants it, the village doesn't, the person to pay a fee too.
We
Like-
utilize
like you
general
have-
contracting a contractor.
Should get paid for
He's been telling me, I'm
Yeah,
really
I'm
just
sorry,
waiting
I
to
forgot
see
you
if
were
they hear something.
of people who just let the village do
A lot of
it.
people.
They're like, just leave it. But I'm gonna get home, we spoke about until 3 o'clock today.
Well, she's back, I didn't know.
So if you already just got home, and then my parents stopped by as soon as about 4:30, about as soon as both of us were home.
Registered, didn't
So
know
we
they
can have